Hi, TV Dad. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I just realized I didn't have to put in my. Hi, Chineko. You're here early. Gnarly Carly. How's everybody? Thank you all for joining. Maybe you'll stick around a minute. Hi. How are you? For once, haha. Usually come in late. Sorry, I am a little late in starting. But place, can you see me okay? Is my sound okay? Am I lagging or anything? No? Hope not. Thank you so much for the gifts. The likes and shares do well here. It helps me get people out there. And well, hello, peace, love, rainbow. Going to bring you both up just to make sure that the um, that part is working. The mods as well as the multi guest. Checking in from Anna Maria Island in Florida. Hi Dee, is it hot there? Liberal Boomer, hi. Glad you're here. Hi Ginger. Is it hot in Anna Maria, Florida? I hear like y'all are under a heat wave. It's beautiful here. Hi Montana. Hi from Seattle. Let me guess, it's raining. Is it raining? Sorry, you probably get that a lot. Hi Moral Atheist. Good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm used to the heat, but it's not too bad right now. Good. Good. Thank you for liking the live. Hi Carolyn. Hello? Question mark. Are you not seeing me? Sunny in PNW. Is that Pacific Northwest? Yeah. Oh, hello. I was like, hello? Hello? Is that what you mean? Not today, which means everyone and their dogs are outside, I bet. Where am I from? I'm in Indiana right now. I was born in Kentucky. God's country, as they say. Born and raised, Southern Baptist, through and through. Southern Baptist. Who's my Southern Baptist here? Yeah. Now I think I have requests. You're from Kentucky and same Southern Baptist, huh? Are you deconstructing, D? Sunny in South Central Pennsylvania. It's mild here in Indiana today. It's very, very nice. Oh, you were independent fundamentalist Baptist. I bet you have stories, moral atheist, which might explain why you're atheist. Am I right? Am I right? What's funny here? Your clown emojis, Kentucky, Ohio. Yeah, there's like, hey, martial arts. I'm so glad to see you here. Nathan, my friend, thank you so much for being here. I do believe you can invite to come up if you have something that's connected to one of these topics. Of course, we can always talk about Christian nationalism. Filtered unwanted comments. Yeah, here they come. Can someone tell me what was the name of? So let user 104 think they did something, but oh, you grew up Lutheran. Your dad. Are there two types of Lutherans? One is more strict than the other, I think. But yeah, thank you for. But they can hear this. What is the Wayne's World? What was the name of the characters in Wayne's World? Your mom's fam was a devout Southern Baptist. Great grandpa was a Southern Baptist minister. Yeah, I come from a long line of Southern Baptist ministers. My family is from the Hopkinsville, Hodgenville, Elizabethtown, Bardstown area, and into the Appalachian. Wayne and Garth. Thank you. Everybody knows. All right. Is it a movie or was it a skit where they go into this hotel and they have an agreement with some ladies to partake in the festivities of what these ladies were willing to be paid to do? Can we make that vernacular shared? And yeah, absolutely. Kelsey, you can see my comment or content. I talk a lot about why many Americans, especially Christians, are complacent about what's happening in Palestine. All eyes on Rafah here. But so the skit is the one where they're in the hotel room and then the ladies go into the bathroom to get ready to for the evening, and Wayne and Garth leave the money on the table and they run out like they did something, like they really did something. They were so proud of themselves that they left the women in the hotel room even though they paid them, and they really think they did something. And I'm sure the women, that the women came out and said, thanks for the money and we didn't have to do anything. That's kind of how I feel about the people who come in and say, well, drop a Leviticus verse or drop 2024. Like, what do you think you're doing? You really think you did something there? You really think that somebody's going to be here so riled up and offended that your ignorance is showing here? Like, I just look at those and go, what do you think you're doing there? What do you think you're doing there? That what it shows is this, it shows a mentality that has been, and an experience and an emotional maturity that has been stunted by your indoctrination. That you're treating politics like a basketball game, when the red flag should be that anybody who's putting in all the flags with the name of a person doesn't realize that, first of all, you're very dangerously going towards idolatry, which is exactly everything that your religious beliefs talk against. And it's an ideology. It's an ideology that demands worship. And what does that have to do with politics? It's a really unhealthy, very emotionally immature view. And many of us know that indoctrination, because once you spiral away from it and you realize how much you don't know, because that indoctrination insists that you don't, like you almost stunt your learning in order to be compliant and loyal, because the less you know, the more you will stay loyal to the system, this religious patriarchy or whatever it is. What happened, Stace? Okay, so I got some guests coming up, and I'm not on the. We'll try. We're going to try this one. Liberal Boomer, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you
Can
hear me?
everybody hear them okay?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I just needed to turn up my my phone. Now I can hear you. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Are you a deconstructing Christian?
I'm not quite sure what that means.
Okay.
A little clarification would be good. I've been through so many what do you call it? I was raised, when I was younger, Southern Baptist, then went to Pentecostal, then went to Methodist, then went to I'm not sure what you would call it, is like Open Door Chapel, the like that, and then settled on Lutheranism. And you said earlier there are two parts of Lutheranism, and we were the ELCA Lutherans, and my pastor actually was one of the first pastors to openly support gay members, and allowed, not allowed, but accepted gay members into the church. Lost a lot of people because of that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But so what's deconstructing? Because I think I kind of am.
Okay, what's your are you churched right now? Do you go,
N-
are you active in a church?
No, not at
Okay.
all. I
Okay.
tend, I,
If you don't mind my asking, why do you not go to church anymore?
um, partly because that church where the wonderful pastor was actually folded. He's no longer there. And I know you don't go to a church specifically because of a minister or pastor, but he was so easy to talk to, and the church was vibrant. I was with them through thin times and prosperous times with myself, and I was
Okay.
never treated differently.
Montana, I'll bring you up in just a minute. Thank you, Lord Drop, and thank you for the likes and the shares. That does help in this universe, so please keep that up. Hi, Liza Marie. Thank you for being here. So liberal boomer, no, and you know, it's not uncommon that people find a connection with the church leaders, and when a church folds, that can be one of the reasons that people stop attending a church if they have such a connection. Um, so, you know, I don't know whether or not you would be considered deconstructing. There's really, and what the first thing when I talk about deconstructing, I'm careful to say, as you journey through deconstructing, it's not so much what you believe and what you release about those beliefs as you journey through that. It's about who you become at the end of that experience.
I've just
Or
come to believe that there's more truths in, I won't say all of them because I haven't studied all of the religions, but there's more truths in most of the religion. They're just using different words. And that I think is like polytheism. So it's kind of gone away. Is that deconstruction? I
well,
don't.
it sounds like you have done a level of deconstructing, but for many of us, and I'm not speaking for the entirety of the deconstructing community, nobody can do that. But there is a either a an awareness that can begin even early on. Like I've talked to so many people, and it mirrors my experience where I can remember sitting in church at nine when I was 9 years old, listening to a minister and very much being drawn to what they were doing and hearing people say, well, you can do whatever you want to, you know, you can be whoever you want, as they try to encourage children. But I couldn't be that because my church taught that they will not ordain women. And having that internal conflict inside me, why can't I be that? Because I can be as good as that person up there. I can preach the lights out. And so why can't I be that? And then learning that those questions weren't acceptable or weren't encouraged to ask, or you would not receive an answer. It was always going to be related to scripture. And that scripture is a specific translation and a specific interpretation of that translation that was non-negotiable. There was not ever going to be a time where there was going to be a renegotiation with that scripture. So that was part of that religious belief. So, like you, I had an experience of navigating through many different types of denominations before I realized that I was leaving church, that it was no longer going to be able to hold my spiritual journey. So that was the reason why it's kind of the same thing of this awareness that whatever this is, this experience is too small for me. And I don't say that as a judgment about people who find their spirituality inside organized religion. It just wasn't for me. And when you look at the data, about people either leaving church or deconstructing, the data is very clear. I mean, you just need to spend a few minutes on Pew Research Center to see, or some of the recent Gallup polls and things like that, to see that people are leaving church for many reasons. And some of them are that they're the church that they're attached to, they folded, but a lot of times the reason they're leaving is they can no longer reconcile the hypocrisy of what is being taught.
That's
They
why I can't
cannot.
find a new one. That's exactly why I can't find a new one.
Well, I have a resource guide on my website at revcarla.com. You can find it in my profile that talks
Okay.
about a welcoming versus an affirming church. And there are questions that you can ask if finding a spiritual community is important to you. But here's the other thing that's happening. A lot of people now just aren't being served by their spiritual community. They're finding enrichment in different ways, whether it's a more individual, personal experience, or they find community in other ways and understand that those spiritual experience, those kinds of human experiences can still be just as enriching. So, yeah, I have it. Corey says that they're growing like crazy in Asia and Africa. I don't think they're growing at the rate that Islam is growing. I think Islam is still the fastest growing religion worldwide, but I'm not sure about that. Thank you, Liza Marie. Liza Marie says that y'all are my spiritual community. And I think you're going to start to see virtual type communities like this that are kind of just organically and holistically finding each other. That's the power, especially in this kind of platform. TikTok does an amazing job in bringing people together and finding people on your FYP than any other social media app. So that's one really good way to find community. But I believe that we're just on the precipice of humanity changing what community will look like. And what community will look like is more secularized. Like, for instance, and I think you saw this in with COVID, with the rise of mutual aids and things like that, where there wasn't enough that was serving the human need. Yeah, there were churches who stepped up, and they had brought in service and stuff, but communities started to come together and figure that out themselves. So I think you'll see more of a secularized center with a spiritual component. Just keep it out of the evangelical radical hands. I'll be the first to say that, because you're looking at what's happening in our country with we being hijacked with Christian nationalism. That we have a big problem. We have a big problem with the threat of us becoming a Christian fascist country. So I would just encourage you to spend some time. I have a book recommendations on my website. I come here 3 days a week to have lives, and I also have an inner circle on Book of the Face that you could join, where there's a lot of amazing people. So I'm going to go ahead and drop you down because I have some other people waiting to come in. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to drop you.
I'm trying to figure out how to as well.
I think I got it.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Let's see before I bring you up, Montana, I'm going to just get caught up on questions. It looks like we have some Bible thumpers here today. PSA says I'm changing what the Bible says. No, PSA. What you meant to say there is I'm rejecting your interpretation of the Bible that you're using, the translation of the Bible that you're using. I'm not using that. There is no complete manuscript, and things were edited and re-edited and taken out and redacted and then put back in depending on who was in power. But your beliefs somewhere along the line decided that this was the translation and this was the interpretation. And that's what you're standing on. Even though there are 35,000 other Christian denominations worldwide that don't agree with you, but you're going to be out here arguing with somebody who's deconstructed, unchurched, and nonconforming. Meanwhile, your entire denomination is crumbling around. Your entire Christian-esque existence is crumbling around you as people continue to leave church, but go off and make the problem me. Go on and pretend that I'm the problem. When you just need to, y'all need to look in the mirror, because all you ever do here is show us why we left church in the first place. Y'all want to make it about, well, I read the articles. I hear what Christians are saying about us who have left church. Well, they're selfish. They want to sleep in. They want to watch football. It's such a trite, insulting response to people who are realizing that this weaponized faith disconnected us from humanity in a way that for many of us, for a long time until we heal what was broken, we are bitter for the time that we wasted thinking that we really believed in our moral and spiritual superiority to the point that we think we can come in here and drop little comments about being sinners, or that's not what the Bible says. You don't think I spent an entire lifetime listening to people preach like that? And you come in here and you really think you're doing something, but what you're doing is, I don't know the last count of my followers, 676,800 of you, and these are recorded. So then they go out to other places where there's 21,000 followers here, and there's another 10,000 here, and there's a couple thousand over here, and they get to hear and see what you've done. And you know what they do with this information when they see somebody like you come in and say, well, the Bible doesn't say that. You know what they say? Thank God, whatever this God is, I don't believe like that anymore. I don't ascribe to that. I don't want to be that person. I am embarrassed that that's who I was. I'm embarrassed and I'm hurt. My heart breaks for the people that I hurt when I believed like that. But go ahead. Keep it up. Keep it up, because you affirm us every time. Every time. Okay, let's go back. Montana, you've been waiting a minute.
Hi. I just want to say that I have been seeing your videos for a while now. They just like pop up. And I'm just so glad that you're live and you're just such a comforting presence.
No. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Even when I get going, I told you I could preach.
Oh, no, absolutely. I would go to I wouldn't call it a church. I would call it, I don't know. I would go to your sermons.
Well, I appreciate that. I have told before that it's funny when I get an invitation to pastor a church. I'm like, have you seen my outfit? Do you know who I am?
Like, do you know what I do?
I know, and I know better than to say never. But where I
Right.
am right now, no, I don't. I don't see that. Now, I think that Montana, are you the one who wanted to come up because you were talking about some that you feel that you have these spiritual gifts? Was that you I saw in the comments?
No, I don't consider
Okay.
myself to have like spiritual gifts. I'm here because I mean, I've fully, I grew up
Thank you,
Pentecostal,
Amanda.
Assemblies of God, and my dad was a theologian, and he wrote a book about uh, David, I think David, and like the prophecies about the end times and Israel and all of that. And so, like, for me, I feel like my last step, my biggest roadblock in like fully deconstructing is that I'm constantly afraid that these, quote prophecies about Israel and all of these things are like, I feel like they're happening.
Hmm.
And I know that that's silly, and also, free Palestine. Yeah.
Yes, all eyes
But
on Rafa.
oh, yes, and I want to be able to move past that.
Okay. All right.
Um, yeah,
That's let can I respond to you?
absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to mute in case that you have any background noise, because first of all, well, before you mute, I want to ask you a question because I want to make sure I heard you right. Did you apologize for believing? Did you say, I am forgetting your words. Sorry, I need to drink some more of my protein shake. I'm my brain is kind of loopy. You said I I'm embarrassed. I believe that way. Is that what you said, or did you say I'm sorry I believe that way?
Um, I don't know. I'm not sure what I said,
Well, maybe
honestly.
somebody in the comments can tell me.
I
But
may
anyway, there
have
was a
celebrated a little bit last night.
you what?
I may have been celebrating last night.
Okay.
So,
Okay, that's fine too. That's fine too. I think we all have. I have a video queued up to dance, but yeah, I hear you. I hear you 100%. That where we are right now with the whole Christian nationalism and Trump and it's and people coming in here and thinking that they do something when they drop in Trump 2024. I'm going to get that analogy of Wayne and Garth down a little better because every time they do that again, I just think, what do you think? What do y'all think what do you think you're
no,
doing?
I love that analogy. Yeah.
It's like,
No,
what
and
do
and that's another thing is like how do you deal with like for example, my parents, they still love him. Um they still think that he is like sent by God. And I'm
okay.
thinking, did you not hear the passages about, the first shall be last and the last shall be first? I feel like that too is kind of, on its way.
Well, a lot of
Um,
these, okay, so now I'll ask you to mute. Oh, if someone remembers exactly what you said, maybe they'll put it, but I don't think the context is, I don't think the context is as important as what you were talking about with your belief and having a little bit, and I'm paraphrasing, that there's concern and maybe a little anxiety because what you see it is happening in the Middle East. And does that look like the fulfilling of prophecy, especially if you had this interpretation of revelation that made it about end times prophecy? So I'm going to hold on to this and but it also is tied to this
Yes.
whole
Also,
thing
I'm
about,
so sorry, just real super quick. I just wanted to get in there that this ideology is why America is so pro-Israel and so blindly supporting them. And I just want people to know that it comes from a religious place to begin with, and then
okay,
everything else is like added on top, at least as
yes.
far as I'm aware. But yeah, I'm done.
Okay, no, it's fine. Lily, if it's safe for you to request up, I've seen a couple of your comments and I'd be happy to answer them. Um, so the fact that your parents are doubling down on their loyalty to Trump, and even the worse he gets, the more that's known, this seems like their loyalty becomes even more entrenched. And the fact that you're dealing with these end times prophecy and you're looking at what's happening in the Middle East, and it feels like it's coming to fruition. Those are actually tied together because you have, based on some of your comments I saw here and what you've shared, you're clearly deconstructing, but yet this belief has its hold on you. And that is a reflection to the power of these indoctrinated beliefs, the power of them, because people go crazy when I call it a cult, but it is definitely cult like because it is using spiritual manipulation, spiritual gaslighting, spiritual bypassing. And if you don't know what those are, we talk quite a bit of those in some of my sacred conversations, and I've done some videos on them. That's a type of abuse that can lead to trauma. So when we talk about what religious trauma is, those types of indoctrinations are harmful. And it limits a person's emotional capacity to deal with their own life and also how they're going to process it, because the entire indoctrination, the whole purpose of the indoctrination is to turn your face back to the religious patriarchal structure, look to it for leadership and guidance, and to make sure that you stay in compliance to it. So you have this leader out here, this tyrant, this authoritarian who clearly keeps telling us what he's going to be. He is going to be a dictator. This will be a Christian fascist country under him. He will never leave power. Don't believe that Time magazine tried to sweep that under the rug. Like, by the way, he said he'll leave. And then a week later, he comes out and says, they're saying that maybe it won't be a bad idea for me to leave. He's now said that twice. So believe what he says. He's using the same tactics. He's using the same tactics that these people were indoctrinated into their high control, evangelical, fundamentalist, conservative Christian experience. He learned it from them. He's been trained by them. He knows how to trigger them into compliance, because how many of us have witnessed a pastor or a church leader been accused and convicted of some kind of violence towards children or women and still have a pulpit because they're God's chosen? We forgive them because this twisted teaching about forgiveness is also part of that indoctrination. Forgiveness isn't ours to hold on to. It's for God to demand that anybody that's part of that structure receive it. You don't have a choice because you are compliant to that structure. The entire structure is intended to keep you in submission to perpetuate the institution which protects the white Christian man. And in the Trump structure, it protects Donald Trump. So that's why these people, the worse it gets, the more they double down, because that's exactly how they've been indoctrinated in church. Prove me wrong. I'm right, especially if you have set foot in those churches and you've heard those sermons. Or if you've ever sat in a Bible study, you know what's being taught there. You know what they're saying. Now, to your question about the apocalypse and the end times and that triggering you. So I'm going to tell you my deconstructing, because one of the things I always say here is I'm not here to try to deconstruct you to a level, your beliefs to a level that you're not comfortable. However, you're saying that you're having problems with this. You've deconstructed a lot of elements of your life. But this is an opportunity for you to say, okay, I'm going to take this belief out and I'm going to look at it because it's just not serving my highest good. I cannot reconcile that these people can't be right. They just can't be right. Weaponization of faith that requires that a whole large group of people, the LGBTQIA plus community, eradication of protection of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, all these rights that have been fought for over generations are all going to go away because that white Christian man is threatened. How can that theology be right? Well, it isn't. It isn't. And so this is your opportunity to take a look at this belief and see how it's serving you. And it's not. Because what Revelation is apocalyptic literature. It's written in code. Because at that time, the Christians were being persecuted by the Roman Empire. And so you can't come out and say that Nero is, and 666 is the mark of the beast. You cannot make that a connection with that, the same thing that happened to Jesus happening to you. The book was about hope, to point people to say that our suffering is temporary. Rome will not stand forever. We will be redeemed. We will come back together. Now, and so you have this, and so what's happening with this conflation of that, of Revelation and this Christian Zionism, if you will, because in that theology, which by the way, rapture theology is only about 300 years old. It's all new. So these very people who were in here earlier and the people who talk about this, you're talking about a theology that where a guy comes down, he's talking about dispensationalism. You can look up John Nelson Darby and the father of dispensationalism. And he says, by the way, there's going to be a time when everyone who's either died or saved in Christ is going to be raptured up. because that's going to happen before the tribulation. And then about 7 years later, Jesus then will return. And in that whole prophecy, in order for that to come through, then Israel has to be reestablished and Jerusalem has to be established as the capital, I think, right? But here's the really uncomfortable part about all that when you think about the Christian support, because they're saying that all of this is about end times. The Judaism would basically cease to exist because the intent is for everybody, including the Jews, to convert to Christianity. That relationship is really messed up. But you have Christian Zionism's belief inside the support for Israel, and Israel taking advantage, then Israel's leaders taking advantage of that in order to justify what is happening in the Middle East and the G-side in Gaza. So facing our indoctrination, you don't have to be unchurched. You don't have to be churched. You don't even have to understand all of end times theology to be impacted by Christian Zionism. And you don't need to go into a deep theological understanding of Revelation or the verse in First Thessalonians. I'm losing. I don't have any of my notes with me right now. Yeah, Wings of Magpie says my eyes glaze over when I hear the rapture. Yeah, for sure. So what was I saying? I told you I'm tired. You don't have to be a theologian. You don't have to go into that. There's a couple of books that you can, a couple of creators here. If you're not following Dan McClellan, he has debunked this so many times. Make sure, Montana, that you're following Dan McClellan and you're following Reverend Brandon, and it's Brandan Robertson. Brandon Robertson. Both of those talk. Brandon is a progressive pastor. Dan is a theologian who has the receipts. So you need this. This may be a wonderful opportunity for you to spend time. Yes, they just put it in the chat, but be right back to find Brandon. Yes, please do. And Dan McClellan, if you haven't. I was with them before finding you, Rev Carla. Thank you, Chineko. Thank you so much. So you have this. I think this is your opportunity to look at your beliefs and how that may be limiting some of this level of your deconstructing. Because if you just cannot reconcile it with a theology that demanded your submission to these beliefs in order for them to be weaponized and oppress the rights of others, then it's time for you to take a look at that. Does that answer your question, Montana?
Yes, very much
Okay.
so. I really appreciate your time, and you're just so amazing. And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and drop you down. I have a couple of more requests here.
Hello.
Hi, Lily.
So,
How are you?
okay. I'm doing well.
Are you a deconstructing Christian?
I would say so. I've separated from the church for about 2 years now.
What
Um,
denomination is your experience?
Southern Baptist.
Okay, same here.
Um,
Um,
oh,
do you still feel like you hold on to the beliefs, or why? What caused you to separate?
the church I was going to was preaching about attacking other religions and attacking groups of people, um, for sins that I've not even seen mentioned in the Bible. They talk heavily on um, trying to convert uh, people, and they're a very evangelical church, I
Hmm.
would say.
Yeah, evangelical evangelizing is one of the highest priorities. You can be made to feel guilty if you haven't invited somebody to church for a while. Okay, so what is your question, and how can we help you with your deconstructing?
I just hear a lot about a lot of anti-trans literature that I've never seen myself. And I'm just curious about if there's any scripture that's saying you should basically lie to people about who you are, um, in order to get into heaven.
Um, when you say lie to people about who you are in order to get into heaven, is this something that's affecting you personally because you're worried about being authentically you? And if that feels uncomfortable and you don't want to answer that, you don't have to.
I would say so, yes.
Okay.
Because they tell me that I should dress a certain type of way. I should talk a certain type of way just because I was made in God's image. And in my mind, God's image is who I am authentically on the inside, not just how I've been presenting on the outside to them. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I think I hope I can help you. And so let me begin to answer your question, and I will check in a few minutes if you don't mind muting for a second. Because the first thing I will tell you is, Lily, when I first deconstructed, I had a lot of my language was a lot like yours. Like I was 100% convinced that the God that I knew no longer loved me, that I was going to hell, that my salvation was clearly at risk because I had fallen out of favor and obedience. I was no longer trying to be the good Christian. I was not under the authority of church leadership. I was doing it all wrong. But I couldn't stop this other voice in my head that said, I can't live like this anymore. I literally, okay, so if there's this literal hell, I'm already in it. This is not happiness. This is, I cannot reconcile. I cannot reconcile that people have to be this miserable to be saved. It made no sense to me. So even though I left thinking that if something happened to me, I could end up in hell, I still left. I had the courage to just continue on my journey. And now, almost 2 decades later, I'm happy that I did, but it was hard work. And so I no longer, so my answer, this is the reason why I'm telling you this, is because my answer has changed over the years. Because when I did the work and I read and I studied about other religions and I read about other Christian denominations, because not all churches teach that. It's a specific denominational belief who teaches those things, that demands that you weaponize your faith, that somehow you're getting a high five from Jesus when you enter the pearly gates because you judged and persecuted other people based on what they look like, the color of their skin, where they were born, and who they love and what they believe. Somehow that stuff matters. And I let that go. I lost that patriarchal, that anthropomorphized God that's sitting up there caring about whether my parking space is right out front of the store and whether my sports team is going to win. And somehow my prayers get to the front of the line because I'm so hardworking and a good Christian and I was obedient. All of that fell away. But it didn't fall away easily. And I landed gently, I say, in the arms of the mystics. So I studied mysticism, especially in my seminary experience. I studied mysticism for many years. And this is really more of a personalized journey. And you're really healing what's broken first. And to the point now where I believe that organized religion in its purest form, should be the conduit to help the person with that personal journey. And then the organized religion is the community that comes together to enrich and embrace one another. But somewhere along the line, it became power hungry and it became corrupt. And so for me now, that's why I say I'm unchurched and non-conforming, because that fits where I am on my journey. So now, specifically to your question about asking about a scripture, when I first left, I pored over the scriptures. I continued my study as I was trying to look for justification for what had happened to me and my decision to leave church. Like, I needed to find that. There had to be a scripture in there somewhere. Thank you for the hearts. Oh, Queen of my castle, you're so wonderful. Thank you again. And thank you so much for the gifts and the likes and the shares. There had to be something that would affirm that. And then as I continued to deconstruct, and I learned that there are people out there who don't hold that the Bible in a chokehold that says, no, only you can hear the interpretation of scripture from what your church says it says. And it doesn't matter how many places you find that. Thank you again for the hearts, Wing. I didn't see your whole name. That there will always be, if I find something that affirms my path, there will always be something from that indoctrination that will come along to suffocate it, because none of those interpretations that would relieve my suffering were ever going to be enough. Because it was pointing me away from my indoctrination, and that can't be true. That can't be valid. So I had to let that go. I had to be brave enough to say, I trust what's happening to me now, and I'm going to dive in. So if you're looking for scriptures, you're not going to find it here, because I let that go. Now, if you need those scriptures, well, I just reviewed a book by somebody who's a mutual here, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say whether or not that name is. I keep forgetting to ask them. But again, Brandon Robertson would be my first recommendation to you, because their content very much talks about specific scriptures that are going to help you. Brandon Robertson is openly gay, and he's a pastor, and he's amazing. And I think those are their pronouns. I'm sorry, I need to check. Lily, there are many Christians who affirm your authenticity. You don't have to mask who you are or change who you are. When you are showing up just as you are, as freely as any of us show up. They understand these are theologians. Brandon is finishing his doctorate, or he may have just finished it. So they've studied this stuff. They know it, and they know that, okay, these words were for a people at a time when historically humanity looked vastly different. Nobody who wrote that scripture thought that it would come up to today and say, okay, y'all, apply it word by word and make sure you weaponize everybody along the way. Make sure so you can suffocate everyone based on these translations. When we know the Bible has never have been delivered in one complete manuscript. It's been deleted and added and re-edited and taken out. You don't have to look any farther than just what's happened with the King James Version, who most Southern Baptists consider the Bible, even though, once again, it's crazy because it was written in the 17th century, thousands of years after the entire experience of those Bibles. It was written for a king who desperately needed to hold on power. hold on to power. And the way you do that is make sure that everything points to monarchical rule. And when you start to see that, you start to let go of certain things and understand that, oh, wow, I can have a spirituality that doesn't require that I weaponize anything. That I can sit at this broad table of humanity with my fellow humans and just celebrate the fact that we're all here during this time. But the only thing those beliefs still serve is a religious patriarchy that has to have people available to tithe and free labor to work to perpetuate that institution. And the minute they ever change their mind, weakens the patriarchy. That's why so many of them call themselves originalists. Look at what Amy Coney Barrett is. Look at her beliefs. When they talk about, when you have a whole swath of people talking about the good old days, what do you think the good old days are? The good old days was a time when a white man could walk down the street and demand at any time, any place, that whoever was walking down that street, they had to tell that person where they were going, what they were doing, and whether or not that person approved. And you know, if you grew up in small town, especially in the Bible Belt, that was a pretty scary place. Thank you so much for that gift. There are still places here where we have, in Indiana, where we have remnants of sundown towns. And there are people who want to bring that back. There are people right now, there are 600, almost 600 laws across, thank you for the gift, Stop Views. There 600, almost 600 laws, according to the ACLU.org. They're tracking almost 600 laws right now across the United States that are annihilating the rights of the LGBTQI plus community. And most of those are brought by Christians. Now, why? How is that being Jesus? And a lot of these people, when you go look, so you have that Southern Baptist experience, then you've heard of Russell Moore. You know who Russell Moore is. If you don't, go look him up and go see. He's now the editor of Christianity Today. Go look at the article where he spoke to PBS, and I know he wrote about it in ChristianityToday.com, where he talked about how he's talked to pastors whose congregation said, stop talking about the Beatitudes. Stop talking about us caring about the poor or the widow, or opening our homes to the immigrant, to being kind. The words of Jesus. Now, if you need the theological arguments, again, go please spend time with Brandon. My lane is to help people who are dealing with reconciling with their authenticity and peeling away that religious trauma. Because oftentimes, you know, we dismiss how traumatic this teaching is to us, because we have been taught to minimize our emotions. And some of us have even heard sermons about, you don't need Prozac, you need Jesus. Nothing can threaten the patriarchy. So they need you to conform. Dress a certain way, Lily. Talk a certain way. Deny yourself. We'll pray over you. And I'm not saying that's your experience, but we've had people who have had that. We'll put you in conversion therapy. These have been proven to be harmful programs. When we know that those who are struggling with their gender identity or their sexual orientation or where they are in their journey are at risk of leaving here because it's just too hard to navigate the approval of this religious patriarchy. And they hear inside that they're flawed and they're broken and they're a sin, when in reality that's not true. But that requires some deconstructing, and that also requires some deep, intense therapy. And there's spiritual care, there's spiritual counseling, but there's also licensed therapy that needs to be by a licensed therapist. So I hope that for those of you who are here in this, Lily, that's something that's available to you. So Lily, I'll ask you to unmute now, and I said I would just be a few minutes, but I did go a little longer. Does this help with anything that your question?
Yes, absolutely. Excuse me. I really appreciate you talking to me about this. I've been on my journey to deconstructing and finding my faith outside of church, and it's been a struggle just because being in the Bible Belt, there's a lot of churches around here that are very similar to the one that I had left, and so I'm trying to find a church where they aren't so weaponizing about everything.
So we do have a resource guide called Welcoming. There's a couple of things I have that are on my profile. You can go to my website and you can find it on my profile. But there is a Welcoming versus Affirming Church. There is something about the clobber verses, and I think Lynette is on the website. I know I just proofed it again, but I don't know if it's there still. Yes, so it's still there. So there's 3 resource guides there that you can go read. Again, Brandon Robertson, Find Your People. And I will also acknowledge that some of the hardest seasons for someone who's deconstructing is navigating this alone. And first of all, I think these virtual communities are helping. And I think we're going to find more empowerment in them as time goes on and they get more structure and we find more people together. I do think that's going to happen. But I think that there's also wisdom in some of this being alone, because we've also kind of been trained to look for someone else to have the answers for us. And we turn off this inner knowing that we are worthy, that we are enough, that you don't have to change anything about yourself in order to show up and be celebrated and affirmed for who you are. You deserve that in all your fabulous, fabulous self. I have been, okay, you won't know who this person is, but I have had the honor, and it's happened so many times here. I've just realized recently how many times it's happened that someone has brought me into their confidence and to step out fully into themselves. And whether that means finally claiming who they are and then wearing the dress and wearing the lipstick and being told for a long time that they needed to be more feminine and they just wanted to wear the work jeans and the boots, and to watch that, and then for them to send me pictures to say, look, Rev Carla, look who I am today. I want that for you, Lily. You will find your people.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Come back and see us sometime.
Of course.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right, who do we have here? Salt's mom, I see you there. Hi, dear. Aaron?
Oh.
Sorry, you've been on hold for a minute. How are you?
That's okay. I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I just came across your live. Hey?
Can I ask you a question first? Are you a deconstructing Christian?
I'm wanting to. I'm just it's difficult because like it's just a family thing, and my community is like my church is like growing up in the community. Yeah, so letting go of the church is the same as it kind of feels like letting go of like old friends and cousins and what have you like that. So
Okay, Aaron,
like
hold
that.
on just a second. Lily, I just want to pause for a minute because I see the conversations. Could everybody send Lily a heart? I think Lily just needs to feel that love. So could everybody just for a moment just flood the comments with a heart to Lily, please? Thank you. Thank you, Chineko. Oh my, love the orange hearts. Thank you all. Those are all for you, Lily. We love you. We love you. So Aaron, I hear that you feel like you want to step away. Oh, look at all those beautiful hearts. Um, that you want to step away and maybe start to pull back from some of your religious heritage or some of those beliefs, but it's hard because of the family connections. Is that correct?
Yeah, family, friends. Like I even went to a church high school, so I still have those connections. I don't want to give that away, but just more so the teachings.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to ask you to mute just so I can talk a little bit about this. So it is not, it's not real common, but it does happen that some people will have these doubts, and for the sake of community, they'll continue to fake it in the pews. And basically turn away and say, I am terrified because I don't know who I am if I'm not what the church says I am. I don't know who I am if I'm not in community with those people who have been a part of my life, who I love, who are my level of support. Because now I'm not saying this is about your family or your friends, but many of us discovered that there was no tolerance for our leaving church. Not only was there not only tolerance, it was conditional. So our relationships that we felt like were family and that we were one of them, and our contact list was all of these people that we were in worship with every Sunday and doing the family gatherings and doing the church suppers, that all fell away because our relationships with them was conditional upon our compliance, it was contingent upon our obedience. And that is a whole other part of deconstructing to deal with, that emotional fallout, not just deconstructing the beliefs and what you're dealing with, which is often the catalyst for leaving. Then you're dealing with all this emotional stuff that says, well, wait a minute, how valuable am I as a human being if the only reason you accept me is if I do XYZ and stay in submission to be a part of that spiritual community. Now, again, I'm not saying that's you, but oftentimes that type of weaponization of relationships is enough to say, yeah, I don't want to be in relationships like that. I'm going to walk away from it. Or it's enough to say, I don't care. I can't see my life. I can't see my life without these people in it. So in order for them to be in it, if I am required to believe a certain way and adhere to a theology and a dogma that I really don't agree with, then I'm going to do it because I want to be in this community. Now, like I said, some people just completely turn away because deconstructing is just too hard. I'm going to I don't care. I don't want to do this. That's too much work. So they just shut that side of them down. But what I'm hearing from you is that there is, who just asked you about your TikTok live? Did I miss something? Oh, you mean TikTok did? Yeah, I see that come up every once in a while. I hope you all said yes, enthusiastically yes, if that came up. But Aaron, it is possible. It is possible to deconstruct and stay churched. It doesn't, there will be places, thank you so much for the gifts. There will be places where your growth will be stuck because you may be at a point where you're willing to dive deeper into some of your beliefs that you just really can't go there, because how will you even be able to tolerate sitting in the pews listening to these sermons? So you will have, you'll be, you will end up at a crossroads at some point, but it's not impossible to do. So what I would encourage you to do, because I hear the pain, I know how hard that is. It keeps many people, they start deconstructing covertly. I know I did a video this morning that talked about, I had a book from John Shelby Spong called Christianity Must Change or Die. And I was terrified that somebody would see me reading that book. But I read that book, and I was a huge fan of John Shelby Spong while I was still in church. One of my mods here, my stepdaughter Stacy, and I snuck off to see him in person because we knew it was going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And we had just come from worship, praise and worship. And if you don't know who John Shelby Spong is, please spend time with that, because that's one of my life heroes. But we snuck away and swore that we thought we were going to be hit by lightning. We were going to get punished for it. We really did. We felt that we were going to anger that God, but we could not stay away from those teachings. So what's available to you to do covertly so that you can get what you need and then see where it takes you? You may be surprised that there could be family members that are questioning as you. You might find that you find your words, that you can start to find people within your community that you can start to have a relationship with. Just don't give it up. Don't give up. Keep studying. And like I said, go to my resource guide. You can see some of my books here. Come here. Ask questions and see how we can serve you. And the deconstructing community here on TikTok, there's so much content. So you can find some amazing support. I hope so. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So come back and see us and let us know how it goes, okay?
Thank
I'm
you.
going to disconnect you because I have another person waiting to come up.
Yep. Okay. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. There it goes. Okay, sorry, it's not that easy. Okay, we got 2 more people and then I'm going to call it a day. I don't know what's going on with this accepting. Lynette or Stacy, can you accept people into the panel? Let me know if you can, because I'm having trouble with it. Hey there.
Hey, good to see you.
How are
I
you?
often wonder what you think when you see me requesting to come up in a live. Is she a maniac today? But anyway, I want to say a few things. This has been a really great live for me. And I want to also thank the many sidebar conversations we had in the comments. They were really affirming to me. I know you can't read every comment, but just having those little conversations on the side were very helpful.
Good.
And I think until I'm done the deconstructing process, I'm going to tell everyone I'm new.
Oh, good.
Because I really don't know what I'm doing. And right now I'm really dealing with the combination rage and guilt. And the rage is that I wasted so much time carrying water for the patriarchy and taught other women to do so. And the guilt is I wasted so much time carrying water for the patriarchy and taught other women to do so.
So
I'm really struggling with that.
yeah, I had a video for you that I want to make in honor of you
Oh,
in mind. No, it's a good one because of this rage, because I see it so often and people will come in here and say, "My, you're so angry. I'm not going to talk to you until you settle down."
calm down.
It's like trying to make this happen, but I want you to understand that your rage is valid. Your rage, especially that of and I'm not dismissing anybody here of other genders, but there is a specific type of hell that women experienced inside that religious patriarchy. And because of it, there's a reason why so many of us were triggered when we heard Harrison Butker saying that how proud he was of his wife for knowing that she was disappointed that she let go of her career. Like that might have been what she thought her life was about, but really what she did,
Her life
I think
started when she became his husband.
yes, her life started
like,
when she became the submissive wife and the obedient mother and the selfless sacrificing mother, and forget anything else out of that. Those are intentional narratives around making sure that you never put a passion, an idea, a craft, a creation, anything that is uniquely yours, because we are uniquely qualified to lead, to unite, to heal, because of that. Especially as we age and we mature and we become seasoned in how we react to things, our ability to negotiate and debate is a different kind of energy that needs to be in the room. But patriarchy knows that.
Mhm.
Patriarchy knows that if you allow that energy in the room, outcomes are going to be different. And so when you realize how much time and how different your life would look had you not been that had not been the narrative of your entire life, you're going to be angry. You're going to be enraged. And it's going to live with you in some way, shape, or form, probably for the rest of your life. Now, I'm going to be cautious when I say that, because the key is that it doesn't consume us. It doesn't consume us. So you're in the middle of being aware of it, and it may feel really out of control. But the fact that you're aware of it tells me that you know that it's an opportunity to work on it, to say, how then can it be changed into an empowerment? And that's where you are. That's where you are on your healing journey. So and you might hold on to that rage for a while. Let me give you an example of how it still shows up for me. So how many of you were here the other day when Will was here, and he wanted to attack John Shelby Spong, and he wanted to attack deconstructing Christians, and he basically came up to say, I don't care anything about your feelings. I don't care about deconstructing. I'm glad you're leaving Christianity. And then he started to give us a progressive Christian perspective of dismissing anyone who didn't submit to orthodoxy, what he considered true Christian values. So he was separating his Christianity from evangelical Christianity. And man, did it light me up. I don't know if you were here, but I cried and I was enraged. I was outraged. And I didn't realize that I was still holding that much, because I have progressive church experience. I was an ordained elder in the Presbyterian Church. And I didn't realize how much of that little box of rage I was still holding on to. Now, luckily, the next day I was in a meeting with a therapist, because I have a wonderful speaking opportunity with this person. And I shared that story with him. And he said, that's the way we use rage, is to gauge our growth. And he said, because I was already thinking about how I was going to turn that into a teaching moment. And he said, if it's consuming you a week or 2 weeks after, then we know that there's work that needs to be done. He said, but you're already showing that you can you can communicate with me what it is and how you're going to use it for your healing and how you're going to help others use it. So, Salt's mom, that's there for you to say, you are so at the beginning of where you are. And I want you to know, I want you to say to yourself, get to the point where you understand that rage and guilt are going to be beacons for you. They're going to be beacons when you understand eventually, as you continue to work through this pain and this regret, they're going to have so much wisdom for you. But that guilt, it's pointing you back to those indoctrinations that no longer serve your highest good, and it will point you to your truth. And yes, do you have work to do? You absolutely do. And I saw your message. I'm going to answer you. I will get back to you on doing some things. I got some stuff going on. So, but I'll get back to you. So please, please, please continue to know that it's actually, I think, more common than not that rage is the first indicator of deconstructing. That when you realize that you've done enough work to go, my life has been a lie. Or whatever words come up for you, and then you go,
And how could I be so deceived? I am so smart. I'm the smartest person I know. You know what I mean? How could I be so deceived?
yeah,
But they hit me at my lowest point. I went to
Well, I
a
think-
doctor, and they said,
Yeah.
and she said, come to church with me. And I was like, well, okay. Maybe, I was expecting a pill, but I'll take that.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I'm going to hop off because I know you
yes.
have others to attend
I'm
to.
sending you so much love. I've got one more person I need to bring up, so you hop off and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right.
Hello, Shay.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I've been watching you for a few years here and there, and I'm just so excited that there are people like you out here. It's
Well,
so comforting to know.
Do you consider yourself a deconstructing Christian?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I feel like I've been on this journey for like a decade. I grew up in the Foursquare Church, so I have a charismatic background. I've been a worship leader since I was 12, and I'm 33
on.
years old.
You're gonna have to enlighten me on that. Do y'all in the comments know what the Foursquare Church? I don't know what that is.
It was born out of a charismatic movement in California, I think in like the 70s, 60s. I can't remember the decade, but it's a type of Pentecostalism. It's not like
Okay.
Southern Swamp Pentecostal. It's like West Coast charismatic Pentecostal.
Evangelicals kind of. Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. And yeah, there's lots of interesting things on the Foursquare Church. It was started by a female pastor,
Okay.
and it's very interesting. Highly recommend digging into that. But so charismatic background, Pentecostal vibes. My mom was a worship leader. I started doing music at 5 years old. I was singing on stage with her at 5 years old. I'm 33 now.
Hey, Doug Weaver Art. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to have to end the live soon, but I'd love to have you come up sometime so we can chat. So I'm sorry, Shay. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. And I started my deconstruction journey, I think, when I was probably about 18, when I had a moment where I was questioning my sexuality. Long story short, went through college, got a master's degree in Christian apologetics. I've been in ministry, leading churches and worship services for a long time. In 2020, I left. I came out. I divorced my husband. I'm marrying my new partner in October, which is very exciting. However, my question for you is, how do you deal and handle with the grief? I know I'm still young, but I have found myself in this place over the past few years where I can't even write music anymore.
Oh.
because it's so connected to the church and it's so connected to these beliefs. And I've had moments where I've touched my guitar and it hurts emotionally to even touch my instrument. And I'm really struggling with allowing myself to feel that grief because it's a grief that is so heavy. I've never felt anything like that before. And the rage, which you addressed in the last conversation, but it's definitely anger and grief. And I feel so stuck. And it's to this point where I know I need to feel it and walk through it, but there's just so many things I'm angry and sad about, like everything going on in the world, Christian nationalism, Palestine, all of these things. I'm so angry, but I'm also so heartbroken because it's so obvious to me that all of this is so antichrist. When you read Jesus's words, it is the complete opposite of what we're seeing. And I just cannot wrap my head around how we got here. I mean, I know how we got here. I understand indoctrination and the psychology behind that, but I'm so weighed down by this grief, and I don't, to the point where I don't even know how to let myself feel it because it's so heavy. I feel like it will just kill me. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Like,
Yeah, for sure. And you're really touching a lot of people here. So okay, I have a suggestion for you, but
sure.
this wisdom, I love it when I just let people talk, and your question is your answer. Your question is, how do I let go of the grief and the anger? Because you have to, you have to let go of it.
You have to go
have
through
let
it.
go.
Yeah, you have to just
You have
process.
you have to go through it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would ask is, are you in therapy?
I was for a few months, and then I couldn't afford it. And so
Okay.
I'm trying to get back into it. My therapist was great. She's a trauma therapist. She's aware of religious trauma, and she's helped me process a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to get back into that. But I think the biggest in the middle of that is like, how do I, when I can't go to a therapist currently right now, how can I work, how do I survive this? Like, I feel like I'm just numbing out. You know what I mean? Or
Okay.
like I'm leaning into escapism instead of leveraging it in a productive way, in a constructive way. And I'm noticing that, and I don't want to do that. I
Okay.
just feel stuck.
Charlie, you've offered some really good advice here. But I want to make sure I saw what you said earlier, because
Journal, babe.
yeah, but earlier they said find a new community, rewrite the lyrics, same song. It takes time.
Yeah.
That the last part that they said, it takes time.
Mm.
So in my book, it will be out in 5 months. Deconstructing,
Cool.
Leaving Church, Finding Faith. I do think it will help you and some others. There's a whole section where I talk about this, and I think Lily and Aaron everybody's experiencing this. Even Salt's mom is this season of spiritual wilderness where you do
Yeah.
have to trust the journey and not being connected. Because I mean, I remember the day I lost the proverbial Santa Claus that I had around my relationship and belief in Jesus.
Sure. Yeah.
And I fell on the floor. And you know what prompted it?
Yeah.
I had been reading in my college studies. I'd been reading, and I knew it was reaffirming everything that I already knew, but I needed to see it. I needed to see it historically and contextually, and get it out of my head, that from what my beliefs were, a Hillsong song.
Interesting. I'm curious which one it was.
A Hillsong song came on, and it was "My God is Mighty to Save."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And my Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. And I lost it.
Yeah.
And I lost it, and I realized at that point there was absolutely no going back for me.
Yep. That's how
And
I feel.
I couldn't. I had this whole playlist that had the Jars of Clay and Hillsong and
Oh
Third
yeah.
Day and Switchfoot and some of the Need to Breathe when they were doing their Christian
Mhm.
stuff, and I couldn't listen to that anymore.
I can't either. I can't either. Like I mean, I've been writing music for a long time, and I've been in secular music for a long time as well, but I think there's just so much pain associated with music
I
in
want
these
to
last few years that I just can't seem to pick it up again, and it's the first time that's happened, and it's scary.
So I've always been, I've been told I have a gift of writing. As much as I do videos, I
Right.
actually my gift is writing, and I love it. I lost that. I lost it because I did a lot of teaching in Bible
Sure.
when I was in church and in Bible study. I just lost all of that. And it wasn't until the day of my ordination, and we were in a silent retreat, and none of the chants and the mantras and all this stuff that I had been relying on, or some just quiet meditative music. I
Yeah.
knew my life was getting ready to change because I'm an interfaith minister, and so
Mhm.
I really I dove into deconstructing, and then I wanted to still serve people. So that was something I wanted to study and
Yeah.
become ordained in. So we're in silent retreat, and I needed something for that moment, for the
Yeah.
vows I was getting ready to take. And I turned on Gungor.
Wow. I love, yeah.
You Make Beautiful Things.
You Make Beautiful Things. Mm-hmm.
I pressed play on a playlist that I hadn't listened to for years. And I
Wow.
sat there in that sun, and I bawled and I bawled and I bawled, and I can just feel that feeling again. And remembering that it took a journey of years to bring me back to a place where I still could find love and meaning, but not the same connection,
Right.
because I was coming from a healed, empowered place.
Right.
And so I reconnected with my past in a way that
Mm.
could honor the journey that brought me to where I was.
Mm.
But that was work, just like Charlie said. So
Yeah.
I'm intentionally bringing up Gungor
Yeah.
because a couple months ago, I'm going through my, I'm on Instagram, and I'm going through the people who are following me. And I just do that sometimes because I forget to check. That's how you find out that the person from Game of Thrones, Cersei, is following me. What?
That's amazing.
But I look and I see Michael Gungor. No, there's no way. There's no way Michael Gungor is following. No, there's no way Michael Gungor is following. And it is the
Michael Gungor.
Gungor, who, by the way, Shay, has deconstructed.
Yes, he did the Liturgist podcast. I listened to that quite a bit in the past
Okay,
when
so-
it first started.
Lynette or Stacy, can you write, or Everett, can you write that down? I need to look at that. I want to listen to that podcast. Well, I lost it because it's Michael Gungor. It's Michael Gungor.
I know, incredible artist, 100%.
So now he's here. He's here
Wow.
on TikTok.
Yeah.
And he's telling the story. So he's still he came back to music.
Yes.
He's doing music, but he's got a video out there. So go find his account where he says, I love it. I love this. I'm paraphrasing, but basically he's saying, okay, so I'm looking for a church, but not a church. And I don't want it to look like worship like it did, but I need some worship. And I want a
Right.
community, but I don't want it to look like the old community. So
Exactly.
he's got all these wonderful values and boundaries about but he's trying to verbalize what
Mhm.
he needs as he's trying to find it.
Right.
And so I guess for you, Shay, I'm not going to have like, here are the 10 things that you need
Oh, sure.
to do.
Oh,
Here's
sure.
the 10 things, Shay, that you need to do. Even though in my book I take you from deconstructing to reconstructing
Yeah.
to what life can look like when you don't know what to do about Jesus.
Yeah.
But where you are right now is you're going to need to go out there and intentionally find people who are on similar journeys as you. So, the whole implosion of Jars of Clay
Yep.
with what happened when they
Mhm.
came out as in support of LGBTQI+. I mean, they got canceled all over the place.
Oh, yeah. That was
That
terrible.
story is important. So people who have a gift that they think they've used for the kingdom, and all of a sudden they realize that it's an inherent gift for humanity. So what does it look
Yeah.
like when you are moving away from those beliefs, but you still have something, a fire inside you, and that someone
Yeah.
needs, that's going to heal
Yeah.
someone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And but then you like run into this thing where you're like, my gift was hijacked by this cult. And I'm gonna use that word because I feel very strongly that I was raised in a cult. But it's confusing. But it was hijacked from when I was a child. I was 5 years old. And that is so not fair. And I've lost so much time and I've wasted so much of my creativity writing songs that were not authentic for because I was a closeted queer and I didn't even know I was a closeted queer because I was so indoctrinated and so to these beliefs that I was blind to my own identity. Isn't that wild how that can happen?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you're so brainwashed that you are blind to who you really are, and then all of a sudden it comes out traumatically. Like my coming out experience like happened I think twice. The first time it was very traumatic because I was only 18 and I had no idea what I was up against and what was even happening to me. And then I ran away from it, went back into the closet, and then in 2020 lost everything because I was a musician, working musician, lost all my jobs, and realized watching this show called The Haunting of Bly Manor, there's a lesbian romance in that show. And that's when my true self said, if you keep me buried down here, like you're gonna waste away, like you're gonna die, like your spiritual self is gonna die. And I had to make a decision, and I chose life for myself. But the cost of that, man, it's so heavy. It's so heavy, and I'm still in it. And I thought that it would be, oh, I just do this and like, I go through it and then I'm done. But this is this is a lot. This is a lot.
You're finding the words. Who was the artist from a couple years ago who wrote "God is a bit of a freak"?
Oh, I don't remember.
There's so many. If you Google that or search for it here on TikTok,
Sure, yeah.
TikTok, search for it on TikTok. You heard me say that, the algorithm.
Yeah.
Type in "God is a bit of a freak."
Okay.
It is that is another one of those stories talking about reconciling that faith. Also, there's a new artist out that Stephanie Warren, Warren, and I might be able to. Hang on. So there's so many artists here who are telling their release of their narratives that allow them to live authentically in song. I've never made a resource of it, but let me see if I can find this person because she just put me on to this.
Yeah.
If I can't find it, go follow Stephanie Warren. She's here on TikTok, and she's the one who sent me the person's playlist. I'm not finding. Let me see if it's here.
Yeah, I mean, any like extra music that I can consume, because that's what I'm doing. I'm consuming art instead of making it.
And have you ever heard the song? There's a couple that I want to give you.
David Archetta, I saw that. Yeah, I remember
John
him.
Astin, Astin.
Mm-hmm.
Love, Serve, and Remember. Do you know that song?
No.
Okay. It goes, "Why have you come to earth? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Why did you allow to be birthed?" I'm paraphrasing. "Do you remember? Because you came here to love, serve, and remember."
Wow.
And when we move into the mystical,
Yeah.
the unknown, we release the rules that we think we need around spirituality. You're gonna find your words. You're gonna give us gifts. You're going to give us so many gifts. Oh God, just block that person. I don't want to ever see him around here again. Block, 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 block. He's not safe. All
I
right.
have no idea what just happened.
You can't see some of the messages I'm seeing. So Shay, I'm going to have to wrap this up.
Sure.
So John asked, oh, Chineko, you don't want to know. John asked in Love, Serve, and Remember, but I had another one for you. Do you know, yeah, I can't find it. We need to come up with a playlist.
We do. I can help. I know
Love
some.
Chicago. Hello. We need a playlist
We do.
that's going to help us.
we
need
do.
we need Rev Carla Radio, and then
Yes!
we can subscribe to that. But right
That
now,
would be
I want
sick.
you all to send Shay a heart. I want you to remind her. Held Together by David Arcoletto. Yes, that's a good one. Send me DMs of songs, please, and please send all the hearts and love to Shay. I can't wait to see what journey you're on. But please go find Stephanie Warren. Go
Yes.
find that video by Michael Gungor.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to have to head out. I know that there's several of you who are here who are waiting in the queue. I just want you to know, come back. We've gone long today, but oh my goodness, this has been wonderful. Shay, I'm going to go ahead and drop you down as I say goodbye to everybody. Thank you very
Great.
much. I'm
Thank
sending
you so much.
so much love, my dear.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, for the rest of you, I'll be back on Monday at noon Eastern. Say a big thank you to Stacy and Rev Carla, who's at Stacy today. Rev Carla Shop. I have two backup accounts, Rev Carla Shop and RevCarla.too. Please go follow those. I need to get those over to at least 1,000 followers in case something ever happens here, because sometimes we really upset the Bible thumpers. Shay, all those are for you. All our love to you. Thank you, everybody that was here today. I really, what? Where's Goddess Mia? What? Where? Goddess Mia? Hi, sweet soul. Are you still here? Oh, I have to go. Will you promise you'll come back? Would you be here? Would you come up and say hi to us? People need some love from you. There's some people hurting here. Oh my gosh, you just made my day. I miss you. I'm coming to Florida someday. I'm just going to show up at your doorstep. Yes, I'm going to stalk you. I'm going to find you just so I can send you some love. Oh, I love her. If you're not following Goddess Mia, please go do so. Please, please, please go do so. Y'all, tomorrow June 1st. There you are. I see you. Tomorrow's June 1st. It's Pride Month. So if you are out loud and proud, I celebrate you. I honor you. I affirm you. I love you just the way you are, and just know that. And if you are as deep in the closet that the light can't get you by choice, or because of fear, or for your safety, or for your well-being, or for your security, just know I see you too. I can see in through the cracks in the darkness. I love you. You are not broken. You are not sin. You are not a flaw. No matter what people are saying about you, it is not true. There can never be reconciling authentic spirituality with the weaponizing of the beliefs to suffocate your rights, to suffocate your right to show up just as you are. So in due time, I hope that if it feels right, that you can come out and let us love on you authentically. I love you all so very much. We'll see you. This has been a wonderful live. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all who was here. And we'll be back on Monday at noon Eastern. So join us then. Rev Carla Radio, drop your songs. We need to do that. Oh my gosh, we need to do it. Much love to you all. Bye for now.